Welcome to the Spiritual Awakening podcast. I am your host, Dr. Val, and today I have a very smart, a very special guest on the show. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah Greening.
Thank you, fellow doctor.
Exactly my point. So I can't wait to pick your brain in your area of expertise, but also something that aligns us both in that we are very much into the woo these days, which, is a very vast field of expertise and it's very exciting. So here we are. I can't wait to hear your journey within this realm. So without
Well,
any yeah. Without any further ado, I'll let you introduce yourself, say a little bit about, who you are, however you like to be listened to on this podcast, and we'll roll.
sounds great. I just want to say thank you for the honor of being here because, as you know, I have my own podcast with Dream Oracle for You, co-host that with Billiana. However, I've not been a guest on many podcasts, so this is totally a switch of roles. So I appreciate the invite and that we get to dive into this. And I will try not to have my answers be too long-winded.
No
There's a
problem.
reason why I started a podcast because I like to talk. So
No problem. Same deal here, but I'll cut you off just in case I need to.
love it. Interrupt me at any point, please do. So, who am I? Oof, that's a loaded question, because if you had asked me that question 5 years ago, I would have said, I'm a PhD scientist, with a background in organic chemistry, pursuing a career. I currently work as a patent examiner. So I look at pharmaceuticals and pesticide applications on a daily basis, which is interesting. But that was 5 years ago. I mean, I still do have that background in chemistry. I still have the love of chemistry, just like you have the love of neuroscience. But something has happened in that time, and that is just becoming more connected with the universe and realizing that there's something bigger out there than just us in our little 3D world. And it's been an interesting journey to get there because, oh man, do you want me to jump all the way into my intro right away from
Yeah.
like the process?
Yeah. Talk to me. Talk to me. Tell us about the process. That's what we're here for. I'm super keen.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a Christian household. My grandfather was a church treasurer for like 40 years in the United Church of Canada. He also did sermons and was just a very, very active member in the community and in the church. So I grew up in that kind of environment. And then in high school, I took a world religions class and was like, wait, there's more than just Christianity. There are other cultures and religions out there. And so it was something that like opened up my mind just a little bit. And in my 20s, I was in a relationship where that family had converted to Islam. So I actually was somewhat of a practicing Muslim, not full on, but I definitely became a little bit more familiar with that religion and the culture and stuff surrounding it.
Yes.
But then I found myself falling in love with chemistry and going deeper and deeper into science and more into the physical realm of things. And
Wow.
then being completely, especially doing a PhD, as you know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hours, and you basically ignore the rest of the world and you're just focusing on the academic part of things. And then you leave and it's like it hits you like a train. You're like, "Oh, wow, this is what the world really is like outside of the sheltered, happy environment of academia." Um, and it's when you look at what's going on in the world, it's it was hard for me to grasp with the terms of there being something bigger than us out there, So it kind of I almost went completely atheist, I would say, for a time during my PhD.
Mm.
And yeah, things just started to change. I had a friend who she was a fellow PhD student. She had just like started fresh just about when I was ending my PhD. And I would come into the office all happy to talk to her and everything. And her head is down and she's like praying. And I found it so like hard to grasp because at this point I had like completely gone all the way in the physical realm, and metaphysical was just not even tangible at that point.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wrap my head around it. And then there was another fellow PhD student who would go to church every Sunday. And, I was just like, I don't understand. How can you be a scientist? And how can you then have this other belief system that is totally not science at all?
Mm.
And she said something to me. Well, she's like, there's no proof against and there's no proof for. And until proven otherwise, all bets are on the table.
Mm.
And that really just like spoke to like the scientist in me because that's how we operate as scientists.
Yeah.
Until there's evidence against or for,
Yeah. It could
it's
be anything.
science.
The
It,
hypothesis is valid until,
y-
until proven otherwise.
yeah,
Get it. Yeah.
exactly. And so that was the beginning of the mind shift for me to start opening up a little bit.
Mm. How cool. And this is so great because I've been speaking to, like, I just interviewed Ben Hawkes in the last episode and he spoke to me, whom we both know.
Yeah.
And
I'm
he
excited for that episode then. Woohoo.
yay, that's right. And then he also kind of said that his awakening happened mostly in the last 5 years, and I'm just like, this is fresh meat, this is good. Because I've been kind of like, I did my thing in 2013 and I've been like trying to wrap my brain around that ever since, with its kind of ups and downs and all arounds. But it's really, but then again, in this podcast, the whole point is to actually facilitate other people's awakening who may just be kind of opening up their eyes now to this whole kind of, vast universe that we live in and all the possible realities and the parallel. Anyway, you know that. Um, that's kind of cool. It's really cool to speak with you because it is. It's like looking at it fresh. Yeah, for me anyway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for a lot of people, what has happened in the last 5 years, well, we had the big COVID situation, and I think that that has really just opened up a lot of people in so many ways that were not expected, I would say, or at least not by, you know, the darker forces, if you want to call them that.
Yes, 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 yes. So tell me more. Tell me like how, okay. So I got the early part, the earlier stages, but then now like, you do energy work, like are you're obviously doing your podcast, you're versed in the dream realm and all that. Like how from organic chemistry to that? Like that's I want to know.
Yeah, I wanna know too, actually, because you, like, sit back and you're like, "How did this happen?" And I have to say, well, thank you for, giving the audience a little bit more of a background on me because I just gave them, like, kind of, like, past me and not present me. Um, I love what I do right now. I love the energy work. I love working with people on a soul level, guiding them, helping them on their journey, whatever that that may be, kind of meeting people where they are and then helping them progress because my understanding with just in general, the awake population, if you want to call it that, there have been people that have woken up 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And then there's just the newbies. I will call us the newbies if you want, want it for that. Um, but it seems that now the people who are waking up, you're waking up way, way faster. And because the Mother Earth is waking up, the frequency of the Earth is at such a higher level than it ever was. And so once people start waking up, like it's massive. And even the energy work that I do, and I got some pretty decent feedback, and it's phenomenal the work that you can do with intention and just focus with people on the same wavelength, basically.
Mm.
It's only been a year since I really started to dive into energy work, and the progress that you make within that time is just absolutely phenomenal. I don't think I've answered your question. Your question was, how did I get there? I believe.
Yeah, that's why I like talking to another scientist because you can pinpoint whether you have or have not answered the question that I asked, and you
Oh,
have
I
the
go on a
brain
big
capacity,
tangent, but yeah.
to come back to wheel yourself back in. So that's great. But no, what you're saying is very relevant and interesting anyway. But yeah, how did you get from one to another?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could tell the story with the dream space. I had a visitation dream from my grandfather in 2022. My grandfather passed away in like 2010, and I was very, very close to my grandfather. And I always wanted to have him in a dream, even though, like, during that time of him having been passed, um, I mean, he's still passed, of course, but you know what I mean. Um, I always wanted him to show up in a dream, even though I didn't fully believe in like the metaphysical sort of thing. But, I just wanted my brain to create, a connection to see him once again because I just loved and missed him so dearly. And he came to me in a visitation dream. At the time, I didn't know that that's what it was called, but this dream was so real. It was so vivid. And I could actually feel like an energy like came into my body during the dream. And I could actually feel that in my physical sleeping body, which was just a phenomenal experience. And in the dream, he didn't like talk to me, but I knew what he was thinking. So there's definitely some sort of like telepathic sort of connection going on. And my mom in the dream like showed up and I was all excited. I'm like, Mom, look who's here. Look who's here. She couldn't see him, but she was a believer in that sort of thing. So in my dream, her persona was, totally for that. And I said, Pop says you're beautiful, is what I said to her. And then I got the sense that he wanted to leave and I didn't want him to leave. And I was like, but Pop, I don't know how to use my gift. And then I woke up. And that dream just completely started to shift things for me because I it felt so real, like, I genuinely thought that he had visited, and then talking to, like, my mom and my cousin who are definitely more connected on the metaphysical or spiritual side of things, were totally like, "Oh, yeah, he totally visited you. That was totally him." And it made it be okay, even though my science brain at the time was like, "This isn't real." Or,
Mhm.
"How is this real?" kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so that's where it started, and then my grandmother passed away in 2023. And I thought that this was a long time coming because she had dementia, and I thought that I would take that death very, very difficult, like, I didn't think I would really get through it, and I found out about it, and I swear there was just this calm and this peace that, like, came over me, and at the time, I was starting to open up to, like, the idea of, you know, some sort of angels or guardians or some sort of spiritual, guidance that's out there. And I basically just had a communication in my head. I'm like, "Is there a grief angel with me right now?" And I just, like, had this knowing of, yes, there was. I was like, "What's your name?" And then just this name just popped in my head, and it was just repeated, like, 100 times. The name was Rose. And that was really when I fully realized, okay, there's something a little bit more to this. There's something bigger than us out there, and we can connect with it, and we can open up to it, and it has been an incredible journey since.
That sounds amazing. I mean, that sounds pretty like abrupt as well, not like a gradual process of awakening like it is for some people that I've interviewed, where they're like, oh, one thing and then another and then another. I mean, it is kind of gradual, but there's some instances like the ones that you just explained or um let us in on that are very much like, okay, before you had that dream, there was your life before then, and then there was the after, like, and it completely altered your reality. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It does get a little more intense after that, though, or
oh
it did
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
me.
Oh yeah, no,
It's
keep talking, keep talking. Tell me what.
well, because at that point, then you start questioning everything, and maybe that's the scientist in me, but you really just like, you know, okay, so this metaphysical realm, which is really just it's really just the one realm, but they've separated them into physical and metaphysical. Um, you just start questioning. You're like, well, everything that I thought wasn't real now is real, or like what is real and what isn't real. You just start questioning
Mm,
everything. And so it started. I used to go on walks, and I was noticing that my grandmother, after she had passed, she was like leaving like little signs, like feathers would show up, or just all these like little synchronistic things would just show up. And I'm like, I know this is the universe talking to me, my grandmother talking to me, somebody talking to me that has a loving energy about them, I guess. And I went to a graveyard It was a beautiful graveyard. There was a hill that, like, has a bench that faces the sun. And before this, I hadn't ever tried to meditate, but that was part of the journey, was learning to just quiet the mind and let all the thoughts go out so you can just kind of meditate. And I would go in this graveyard. I don't recommend opening up to the universe in the graveyard, just to be clear, but that was my my process. And yeah, just basically I said to the universe, like, I'm open. I acknowledge the universe exists. I acknowledge there's something bigger out than me. I have no idea how to receive this communication, but I'm interested. I'm open. I'm ready. Let's do this kind of thing.
Mm.
And he's just started somehow there just started to be a communication. I started to define it for myself, and everybody is very different in this. But for myself, I was like, okay, if I ask a question and it's a yes answer, it's like, give me a shiver. If it's a no answer, don't tell me anything and or don't do anything. And that actually started to happen. And so I started this like yes, no series of questions. I guess again, the scientist in me just wanted to know everything on how the universe works and what's real, and do extraterrestrials exist, and have they been here? Did they visit it? All of these crazy questions. And just one thing led to the other. Um, this all seems glory, but there was a little bit of a abruptness to it that does come with it. And this is what I call when I like fully like all lights on, completely woke up. It actually did put me in the hospital for a couple days. And I mean, there was a couple things involved. I hadn't eaten in like 2 days. And I was drinking 2 cups of coffee at the time because I just started the new patent examining job, which was, brain intensive.
Of course.
And
A good
yeah, so
scientist loves a good coffee. I know that.
yeah, well, it was interesting because this part of the wake up, that was it. Coffee was done, absolutely done. So I hadn't eaten in 2 days, I hadn't slept in 2 days, and my body just went into kind of like a shock, a complete shock, and it ended me up in the hospital. I didn't know which day of the week it was or what to, like, just they thought I had meningitis because that's how extreme everything
Mm.
went. And luckily, my fiance, love him to death, um, he was there and he really helped ground me into this reality. And it has been a very pleasant journey since then. But that, I will say, was quite an experience to go through.
Yeah. Wow. And well, thanks for being open and willing to share that with us. And you're not the first person that I interview that, states such a thing at when we go through sometimes when we go through this awakening process and we're not grounded, or maybe for whatever reason, right, you do end up in a state, so to speak. I had a person who's a very gifted spiritual healer now, but she went through literally 2 years of psychosis, like psychosis,
Yeah.
like, and knowing ultimately and kind of hiding it from the world because she didn't want to get committed. And she wouldn't mind me
Yes.
sharing it because it's her story and she shared it, but it's like, yeah, yeah, that kind of stuff happens, and and that's real, and it's part of the journey sometimes. So I appreciate you sharing it with us as openly as you have.
Yeah. No, thank you for the platform to share it
Mm.
as well.
Mm. Okay, and then you had a flavor of that. See, I'm also very scientific. I'm like, okay, now that
Okay.
we've dealt with
Next.
that, now that we've dealt with that, oh, let's move on to the next thing. Um, yeah, what happened after? Tell me. And obviously, now that you mentioned you had a fiance and who was kind of there observing, I mean, was he like going through the journey with you? Or, anyway, that's kind of my next question, but
He's waking up slowly. Not quite there. He's open to the idea, but he's definitely, the masculine energy is very much grounded in the physical and the logical side of things. So there still needs to be a little bit of evidence for him,
yeah,
or he's got the experience has to happen to him, because once the experience sorry, once the experience happens to you, you can't deny it.
that's it.
Sometimes you might think you're a little crazy. Like, I can remember in my early days doing like automatic writing, as another form of communicating. and having questions and, this dialogue. And I remember distinctly writing in one of my notebooks, like, I was like, "This can't be real. I'm literally talking to things in my head." Like, that's like, or
Yeah.
am I going crazy? I'm like,
Yeah.
people would institutionalize me, like you have that kind of internal battle with the connection that you're
Yeah.
having.
And
But what's really amazing, and this is why your podcast is so important, is meeting what I call your like soul tribe, meeting the people who are on the journey as well. That can be just like, no, that happened to me too. You're not crazy. No. And at some point
totally.
you're like, we can't all be crazy.
Exactly. I was just thinking that exact thing. We must be on the same wavelength because I was like, well, every time you form a new neural pathway, and as a neuroscientist, I think as we awaken, we do in fact form many new neural pathways that haven't been taken before or formed before. So, neuroplasticity 101. And every time a new pathway is formed, the brain's like, oh, this is weird. Because the brain's so lazy. It always wants to take the pathways that it's been using forever and ever and ever, right? It's an energy hungry machine, as we know. So, of course, you're going to question all this stuff because the brain's like, oh, I don't want to use this new pathway because it's very energy heavy. But it isn't until you form that tribe around you, which is where the epigenetics comes in, of course, right? The environment that's there to support this new neural development that's happening and and then things become much much easier. It's all epigenetics. It really is. Like the whole world is based on epigenetics, the craziness of it, the wonderful things. So it's kind of your environment really does dictate a lot, fortunately and unfortunately.
No, I 100% agree with that. And thank you for putting that flavor of the neuroscience in there because it helps. I mean, obviously I'm at a point now where I don't question anything and I'm like all in, but having as a scientist in me having that, kind of physical explanation of what's actually going on is very welcome. So I'm
Yeah.
glad, I'm sure your audience members appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you appreciating it because, hey, yeah, the world of science is so cool. But listen, what I'm getting from what you're sharing as well is the essence of a scientist, which is basically curiosity. I know we've a lot of science has moved away from that. We're all into pathology and other shit now, but the basics of science really is based in curiosity, and that's really beautiful and beautiful to witness and interact with in you. Um,
Oh, thank you.
of course. So now I'm curious, like, to me, organic chemistry almost it actually seems woo. So it's funny that you have them as very separate or have had them prior to maybe recent events as separate. To me, I'm like, dude, I cannot see the organic structure of caffeine, like or methamphetamine or anything. Like I know that exists, but to me, it's like I haven't actually seen it. Yeah, you can use, super resolution, all this, but I'm like, I can't see it. Therefore, it doesn't exist. Therefore, an angel and the organic molecule is like the same to me because it exists outside of my field of view. Or not.
Absolutely. It's interesting. What I try to frame everything around is always an energy now. Of obviously trained as an organic chemistry, energy was involved, but it was more like any science or anything. It's just a language, right? So organic chemistry is a language. There's certain building blocks. It's really about knowing where the electrons are going to form or to break a bond, which is all just energy transfer when you really distill it down.
It is. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Wow. I was just going to say that neuroscience is also just a language, so I'm glad that we've distinguished that that
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these yeah, all these kind of science areas, branches, numerology, even. I was going to ask you for your life path number. You seem like a 36-9 to me, but I might be wrong.
33.6.
Oh, oh, that's amazing. I was just thinking that's so great. Six was my next thing because of Mother Earth, and you're so connected to all that. So I was like, she must be either a 36-9 or a six. But okay, that's great. 33-6 on top of that. There's so many 33-6s around me. I was just thinking about that this morning. Like, I kid you not, right? The synchronicity is wild. And it's quite a rare masked number I know for our listeners, now we've jumped into the realm of numerology. Welcome to the podcast.
Go check out
Yeah,
Georgina Grace.
exactly. Thanks to Georgina Grace, we're all obsessed. Um, And yeah, 33, like Einstein, 33.6. And then literally, my mom who's visiting me here from Montreal, and we forgot to say that you're from Canada. I obviously have a background, in growing up in Canada, so that's another connection that we share. But my mom's here, and she was talking to her uncle, so my great uncle, who lives in the Ukraine, and he's like there, kind of near the whole war zone and all that. And he's a 33.6 because I was like, we need to find out. We need to find out what this guy is, right? He's a 33.6. And then I've got like a lot of 33.6s around me, which is just such a beautiful energy to be around. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, so beautiful, honestly.
Uh,
And clever. I mean, Einstein, organic chemistry. Hey,
It's funny you brought up 36.9 though, because my grandmother was actually a 36.9.
wow.
So maybe that was the energy that was coming through there for you.
Isn't that amazing? And it's also interesting how you mentioned the passings of your great parents because today actually marks 3 years that my grandmother passed away, whom I was very close to, and she's very close and like dear to my heart. So, and I'm always like, come and visit me in my dreams because I just miss her so much.
Oh,
Yeah. You
yeah, no,
know?
I totally. You
Yeah.
can talk to her anytime, right?
I know, I know. Wow. So cool. So now that we've jumped around in 50 different directions, let's hone back into, well, what are you up to now? So are you still because are you still doing organic chemistry in some, like, are you still sciencing somewhere? I'm teaching at university. That's the extent of my involvement with academia, which is, I like that because I get to speak and that's what I really like to do.
Yeah.
Um,
For me, teaching is always where my heart has been for like even when I was a kid, like I would play school and I would be the teacher, that was kind of something I really enjoyed doing. And as in studying organic chemistry, it was kind of my way to have supplemental income while I was a poor grad student, was to tutor organic chemistry. And one of the things, it's actually a quote that's attributed to Einstein: if you can't explain something simply, then you don't understand it well enough. And I was very passionate that, you tell somebody you study organic chemistry and they're all like, organic chemistry, oh my gosh, it was so hard. Like there's just this like very, very abrupt reaction to organic chemistry. And I'm like, it's not that hard. It's just how it's explained. It makes it inaccessible to everybody. You have to be adaptable to be able to explain it. That being said, in academia, I very quickly decided I do not want to be in the current version of academia. Maybe a future academia down the road when, all of humanity fully wakes up, or the ones that are going to wake up and the timeline shift and, all the good stuff that's going to happen. Um, so to answer your question, am I doing anything sciencey? I'm still a patent examiner currently.
okay.
So I do get to see organic molecules mostly on a daily basis and get to decide whether or not somebody's invention is, actually new and inventive and actually is useful, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's very questionable.
Yes.
um, but that's about the extent of my actual chemistry goes at the moment, although I do have an interest with a fellow spiritual person that I'm she's really my mentor. She's really helped me a lot in my energy work and development. We actually want to write a kind of like a herbal type book that's
Mm.
going to blend the chemistry and the spiritual side of things kind of
So
in one.
good.
So
Oh, I'm
that's like
excited for that.
future. Yeah, yeah. So that's like future plans. I do want to be able to bring more chemistry connected into the spiritual side of things, but I think at the moment it's more just really getting, I spent all of my life in academia and chemistry, you know, 12, 16 years, whatever it was. It was a very long journey. So I think I need to catch up a little bit on the energetics and then bring
Yeah,
the two worlds together is kind of the plan.
that's great. That's very strategic of you. I like that.
Very scientist of me, right?
I know. I like that. That's good. Um, and so what do you, okay, alongside you patenting? What are you doing with energy work? And I know you have a course and stuff like that. So let's get into that.
Yeah, so I guess the energy work is kind of two flavors. One is the just the dream space in general, which um me and Billiana became my co-host about a year ago actually. Podcast I started last June or July, like year and a half or so. And I really didn't know that much about dreams. I just had the curiosity. I knew there was something more to dreams. I know that we are connecting on so many different levels to each other, to different timelines, realms, whatever it is, most importantly to yourself, your heart, your consciousness.
Mm,
Um, and there's so much to learn and to gain and to heal because this whole energy work, what's it about? It's about raising our vibration and our consciousness,
mm,
which does involve a whole lot of healing to take place. And so dream work, as it is sometimes called, is an opportunity to have an 8-hour therapy session every night.
right?
And yeah,
Sometimes you wake up and you're like, I'm fucking exhausted. Like, what was that? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And so through having many different guests from many different backgrounds and hearing all of their perspectives on the various types of dreams, just go check out our podcast. I won't recap everything of our podcast,
Yeah.
but we've just learned and grown so much so now that we're offering dream interpretation courses where we actually get people in to teach them how to even remember your dreams because that's the first step. This is useless if you're not remembering your dreams. Setting intentions. Intention is the most powerful thing across the board, not just in dreaming, but in living. Just like your intention is so powerful. And that's something we learn through the dream space, actually, Billiana and I. And yeah, and then energy work. Well, the energy work really, and this is where we have the commonality of knowing Ben and Rachel and all these people is through lay love down and just working with the energy of the earth basically to put positive intention and frequencies and balance the energy of the earth
Mm.
for the greater good of everybody basically, or as the slogan goes, save the ley line, save the world.
Yes. And for the listeners, if you're not familiar with ley lines, please listen to episode number 9 with Rachel Vaughan, where we delve into the that magic right there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'll pop it in the show notes. I'll pop all the stuff in the show notes, like where about the course and all of that and the work that you do so that people can can benefit from your offerings and evolve for the lack of a better expression.
absolutely. And I do offer, as you know, so that the course, that's the dream interpretation or the dream realm. The energy side of things is just energy management. So, everything this conversation we're having right now is an energetic communication and interaction. We have actually formed an energetic communication. And if not properly managed, if you've got a lot of baggage or I've got a lot of baggage, that can actually travel through this connection or this cord that we've had and can actually affect our energies, even though we're on opposite sides of the world. And you can imagine if you just go out in public, anything you interact with, anybody you interact with, you're picking up things or you're forming all those connections. And so, what I like to focus on is basic energy management, which is teaching people how to have good energetic hygiene, just the same as if
So
you would
important.
brush your teeth or have a shower. You've got to keep your energy field clean as well.
So important. And I just want to emphasize like the importance of this because I've really picked up since you and I spoke and I had the session with you. I don't remember when that was. Like I've literally taken to it like religiously, like because I teach and I interact with so many people. As much as I like to hermit, I do go out there sometimes, especially when I need to. Or like, with the podcast, obviously, we're interacting with all these people and things and entities and all that for listening. But it's like, yeah, I've just started to literally like doing I'm literally all day every day cleansing my energy and it's made such a difference because now I can distinctly say when what I'm feeling is me versus when it's not. Like it's very distinct rather than prior
Yeah.
to that I'd be like, "Oh, I'm feeling kind of funny. I'm like on a bit of a downer." No, that's now I'm like, "Okay, that actually is not my energy. Let's do this clearing thing." So it's really cool. I'm thrilled that you're
Yeah.
um doing that and offering that as a service.
Yeah, no, and I'm so glad to hear that you've had such success with it because we had like what, 1 hour session and now you're got the basics down and you're just rolling
Yeah.
with it and it's so phenomenal. So and keeping so it's not just about your field, it's also just your energetic space as well. So, I
Mm,
also help with you mentioned entities. So if you have entities in your space, can help you deal with that. And
mm,
if you're into the fact that portals exist and they can be opened and all of your mirrors and even books. That's something actually recently I've just learned like an actual like book can be a portal space. And so they
wow.
have to be closed as well.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Wow. All right. Well, look, any last words of wisdom? We've like traveled so many places in this one episode. But any last
I
words?
know. And yeah, I was just going to say, I'm happy we got to travel so far and so fast because I was concerned that I might talk too much and we'd be like a 2 hour podcast. I'm like, I don't
No,
think that's going to work out.
no, no, no.
So
I'm a
thank you.
manifesting
Thank you,
generator.
universe.
I move fast. I'm like, I want it done yesterday. So there's no way we were going to talk for 5 hours. As much as I like to, no.
Amazing. So thank you, universe. Thank you, Val, for facilitating this very well diverse episode for your audience. And I look forward to watching it. And I can't wait to watch the one from Ben. And there's a kitty cat that just showed up on your lap.
I
Oh my
know.
goodness. I don't want to disturb mine. Mine is below my feet, but looks just like yours.
Oh my gosh. Another connecting link. I love that. Well, Sarah, thank you so, so much. And I'll pop everything in the show notes. It's been my absolute privilege and pleasure, and we'll probably see you around again.
Yeah, absolutely. You did ask about what words of wisdom, though, if we
And
have
okay, you
time.
got 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Just everybody enjoy the ride and don't be scared. And there's so much support out there for this journey that you're on. And the universe is just amazing. Trust in it, and amazing things happen.
Thank you.